Hey, what is going on everybody? My name is Payne and welcome to another review video. And before I talk about this show, I just wanted to follow up on something that I said in the last review video. I talked about the One Punch Man review video in terms of when season 2 is coming out. Now, when I made the video, the only piece of information that came out about it was that it was going to be the first episode of the second season and that it was going to come out in the winter of 2020, January of 2020. But now that the time has passed, now that Sunday has passed, a couple of things have changed. First, it wasn't the first episode of the second season, it was just a 2-minute teaser, which, I was okay with, but the one thing that was the one difference that everyone was freaking out about was the fact that it wasn't coming out in the winter of 2020, but it was coming out in the spring of 2019, April of next year, which is very exciting to talk about, and in my defense, that was really the information I said in the first video was all that we knew at the time, and so I just wanted to keep you guys updated, and looks like we don't have to wait that long. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about today's show. A show that, despite its disturbing name, is known for its catchy music and dark slapstick humor, and if you think about it, it's also the perfect title for a cheesy chick flick on Hallmark Channel. This is the one, the only, Kill Me Baby. Kill Me Baby, also known as Baby Please Kill Me, yeah, I know, that's the name, is a comedy and slice-of-life anime that was directed by Yoshiki Yamakawa and was made by the studio JC staff. It aired in the winter of 2012 and it consisted of 13 episodes. It started out as a 4-panel manga series that, since the making of this video, has produced 9 volumes since 2008 and has since then gained a decent following since the show aired, which for the last 10 years or so has been the norm to have a slice-of-life show grow so much in popularity. This wasn't the only one. As you have another show that I've actually just finished watching, Nichijou, because it got back on Crunchyroll. That's another very well-known slice-of-life anime, and that's really good. And in addition to other shows like, I think Lucky Star was one of the first ones, and then I think every slice-of-life show that was made by a big-name studio has just grown in popularity since. So the story follows a normal high school girl named Yasuna and her friend named Sonya from Russia, who is a trained assassin. And basically surrounding these two, most of the series follows the same thing, basically. Which, this is exactly what happens 3 or 4 times every episode. Yasuna pranks Sonya, or surprises her with a joke or a prank that she came up with, which is not usually the smartest thing. I actually think Yasuna is autistic sometimes. Sonya would attack Yasuna in response to her being surprised. Yasuna would cry about it. And then Yasuna would just eventually forget about it and move on to something else, and it's the same thing again for the next 3 or 4 times. It's the same thing every 3 or 4 times per episode because it's one of those shows where it has multiple short stories. And there is also another character who comes from the same organization as Sonya named Agiri, who is kind of a ninja. She shows up pretty frequently in the show and would always show Yasuna and Sonya something and would give them some ninja stuff. Sometimes, which to me, considering that she looks so laid back that every time she shows up on the show that at the right angle she looks like she's smoking the devil's lettuce, is a little shady. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the stuff she just straight up conned Yasuna and Sonya out of it. But the absolute funniest part of this show comes from our final character, who doesn't even have a name. Her name is literally unused character. Her story is that she is trying to take revenge on Yasuna and Sonya for not being included in the main cast in the show, and that's her goal until about later in the series when she changes her goal from taking revenge on them to just being included in the story altogether, even though she always shows up late to whatever's going on at that moment. So in a way, you could say that she's the antagonist of the show because she's trying to come after them, but we rarely see her. So although the show, since it aired, has gotten a pretty decent following with its simple premise and slapstick humor, it's also gotten its fair share of controversy. Not for the show itself, not around the show, but around the people that were a part of the show's production. And in this case, it's Takabe Ai, who is a voice actor on Kill Me Baby. She voiced Agiri. What happened around Ai was on October 15th, 2015, she was arrested for drug possession after a small amount of cocaine was found in her home. But getting arrested for drugs in Japan is completely different, as if like a famous actor here got arrested for drugs here in Hollywood or in America, as Japan has very strict drug laws. If you were a foreigner and you got arrested for drug possession, you would actually get deported from Japan. They're not screwing around with us, and it's because of that. After her arrest, her career basically went downhill. Her name was taken off of the official Kill Me Baby website from the before picture and the after picture. Let's hope I can get that right in editing. As well as her being dropped by her agency, Oscar Production, because of what happened. And it was announced that because of the arrest, Amazon Video for a short while had temporarily taken off Kill Me Baby off their anime list before putting it back up in July of 2016. And Bandai not only took down Kill Me Baby, but also took down 2 other anime shows that I had starred in, 2009's Sweet Blue Flowers and 2011's Wandering Sun, which I highly suggest people should watch. It's an amazing show and an amazing message. It's very unfortunate that Bandai took it out, and to this day, Bandai still hasn't put it back up yet. The funniest thing out of all of this, if I could even say it's funny, that because of this incident, it also sparked a couple of fan art that, as the story was breaking, spread like wildfire of what looks like Aguirre holding like drugs and weed. This picture right here, and the second picture right here is Aguirre in a jail cell right on the news. So I don't know. I shouldn't think it's funny, but unfortunately, I do think it's funny. The charges were later dropped in March of 2016, as it was revealed in a statement by the prosecutor's office that it wasn't due to the lack of evidence, but instead due to the fact that it was only a very small amount of cocaine that she was possessing, as well as all the backlash she was already receiving as her career was basically over at that point. Then they just basically said, that was her punishment. They weren't going to put her in jail. Even though we'll never know exactly what was going through her head, good or bad, when she made the decision to bring the cocaine into her home, let this be an example not only to you guys watching this video, but to your family and friends as well. When I say don't do drugs, it may sound overused and cliche today because everyone is doing it, and considering that we heard the news about Demi Lovato recently and how she overdosed on heroin, just remember that what you think is cool now can ruin your life in the near future. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. Now, let's go on with the review portion of this video. The humor that this show is based around is a blend of quirky character comedy and physical humor. The biggest flaw with the comedy is definitely that some of the payoffs were pretty obvious. For example, there was a joke where Yasuna is telling Sonya to treat her like a dog and is asked to be given a command. And the first command you'd guess is probably the exact one that's given. There are also other jokes like that, but in all fairness to the series, most of them only partly rely on the payoff, while also partly relying on the character reactions. For the humor, and the reactions are usually pretty funny. The humor in general, in this case, works quite well. The physical comedy is kind of reminiscent of the physical comedy in another slice of life show that I've watched known as Azumanga Daioh, where the school comedy is a bit similar to that, with every episode containing short comedic moments, usually only thinly connecting to each other, broken up by transitions. And in general, it's entertaining and funny stuff, if you ask me. Where the assassin gimmick pays off is that it allows for some of the different scenarios that you would normally get in this type of anime, and in some responses, they're pretty unique. It gives the series its own sense of identity as opposed to the usual group of high school girls doing everyday things in a quirky fashion type of stereotype. And of course, different isn't necessarily good. And there are certainly times when the humor here didn't work. In addition to the aforementioned obvious jokes, there are also times where the physical humor goes a bit too far and it crosses the line into being a bit uncomfortable. In terms of the non-comedic elements, the transitions are pretty awful. Every episode has multiple transition screens where the lines "Kill Me Baby" and "Baby Please Kill Me," both their names, would be spoken before moving on. It's not even the length of them that's the issue, so much that it's just very annoying, as the two voice actors who play Yasuna and Sonya would say the "Kill Me Baby" part, and what makes it uncomfortable was that there would be some Japanese guy who would say the "Baby Please Kill Me" part in the weirdest way possible. I don't know what their goal was with that, but it just didn't sit well with me. I didn't like it. The characters are the best part of the show. They're enveloped in an actually touching undertone which never falls off from the humor priority of the show, but is felt through each time we see Yasuna fall innocently. As the series approached an ending, I couldn't get enough of Yasuna's voice acting and preciousness, and even Sonya managed to become somewhat likable as she's slowly softened up, kinda, by Yasuna. Meanwhile, Agiri is complicated to describe, as she has a presence and voice that are as feeble as they are powerful, like a drowsy but aware, airheaded but smart, or a talented but effortless character. She was purely awesome, and it was one of the driving reasons I waited eagerly for the next episode after I finished it. Always linked to wacky and unexpectedly justifiable ninja techniques with a twist, Agiri often appeared as a random element of surprise to help out with Yasuna and Sonya's troubles, or to aid the scene that otherwise could become too dull without her, but they brought her in anyway. Before I finish off with the characters, there was one thing that I wanted to see more of, and that is, I wanted to see more of the unused character. I believe that the comedy in the show would have been more diverse, if not better, if the writers put in more scenes that show her, because, again, she only shows up like 3 or 4 times in the entire show, and in my opinion, how I saw it, the 3 or 4 times she was there, it was funnier than hell, because it was almost like they were kind of breaking the fourth wall, and I like that type of comedy. And that I wish that they could have put in a scene or something where they actually had her as the main character, or they actually had dialogue between Yasuna and Sonya and the unused character, but unfortunately we didn't get that. Kill Me Baby uses even more basic art than a lot of other slice of life anime. The background characters are largely indistinct white blobs, which I think it was just to move them out of view so you pay attention to those two characters. The backgrounds themselves frequently look very basic and bland, and the character designs of those few characters we actually get are based around having very plain bodies with simple heads that are clearly too large for the bodies. The animation overall is basically functional, but it's nothing great. In terms of music, the background music works nicely. I like the ending theme, I didn't like the opening. The problem with the opening theme, I'm going to start with that, is that like the transitions, it's overly fond of repeating itself, and it uses a lot of spoken words, not to mention that it reminds me a lot of Weird Al Yankovic because it sounds like it has polka in it, especially in the beginning of it. It's less a song and more people talking while loud music plays. The effect is just outright obnoxious. Meanwhile, with the ending, albeit very jumpy and very catchy, is also another passenger on the Hari Hari Yukai bandwagon. That's like the 1 millionth time I've mentioned that. As they also have an ending dance that goes with the song that, surprisingly, people have actually tried. There are YouTube videos of people actually trying to dance to this song on the show, and for anyone who hasn't seen the dance before, there is a certain part where you have to move your body like very quickly from one position to another. You stand on your head, I think at one point, or something very similar to that. I don't know. It just looks impossible to do. Unless you exercise a lot, I don't see anyone perfecting that. Speaking of the ending, that's actually how I found this show in the first place. I saw a video of someone covering the ending for this song, and it was just too catchy to ignore, so eventually I just found the show, and here we are. I watched the show, and now I'm making a review of Kill Me Baby right now, right in front of the camera. This was a show that needed your patience to win your heart, because I understand that other than Agiri, it's not very compelling from the start until Yasuna's voice and attitude get deep into your head. Some early episodes, they had plenty of dry and dull jokes as well as some hilarious ones, with a not very favorable ratio between the two. Overall, it does get much better with time because you get to know and anticipate the characters and the type of puns more and more. Personally, early on, I thought I ended up giving a 6 on it at best to this show, but I ended up connecting to the characters more than I imagined, and it is with that I would rate Kill Me Baby a 7 out of 10. I suggest this show if you want a heavy breather from some heavy plot anime, as this show has a very simple plot, likable characters, and a cute art style that makes you feel released from your stress. But I also suggest that you watch this show a couple episodes at a time, and instead of making the same mistake I did, which is just to binge watch the whole thing, because again, it's the same jokes, like, for every 4 episodes. It's basically the same jokes, so I highly suggest you don't binge watch it. Thank you guys for watching my Kill Me Baby review, or Baby Please Kill Me review. If you like this video, hit the like button down below. And if you want to see more anime review videos, hit the subscribe button on the screen. Also, if you want to see more review videos that I've made, there are a couple links on the screen, and more videos on my channel down below for anyone who wants to see it. And as usual, if there are any shows you'd like to suggest, leave them down in the comments below. And once again, guys, my name is Payne, and we'll see you in the next review video.